going to show you how I do a closed up peony. I start by using our nice peony cutter. There's 4 in the set. I'm going to use our veining mats 5 to 8, and I'm also going to use our creative leaf set, which is this particular one out of here, to make the calyx on the back of it. I would start by just wiring the outside petals. So I take just a piece of paste and I do about 9 of these petals. They're the only ones that get wired. So you can pop it onto your board, turn it over, always dust, and cut your petals out. Now if you do 9 of these, while they're just setting on the side for you, you can get on with the rest. So if we put this on here and onto our firm foam former, vein it, put it onto the tip of your finger, take a 26 gauge wire, dip into your glue and insert the wire. Like so. Now my thumb on here makes it I can feel how far the wire goes up my finger. Take your bone tool and you're going to soften the edges and frill the top. And then with my thumb and my finger I bend the wire. So I'm going to push from here and turn and bend the wire so that my petal will end up like so. And I put these aside to dry off. Now I don't want them completely dry, I just want them setting for me while I get on with the rest of them. So there'll be 9 of those. And I then go back to the center of the flower. Now I start off with a ball of paste. Now my ball of paste is approximately 10 grams. I have an 18 gauge wire here because this is quite a heavy flower, so make sure you have a nice heavy wire for this. You would dip this into your glue, put it into your little bowl, make sure you close it all up. Now you'd really need to leave this to dry overnight if you can, if you have time. If you're familiar with burning it in, by all means burn it in. I'm rolling a piece of paste, fairly fine. Put your dab of dust on the board. And I take the smallest one. I'm going to cut 7 petals from the smallest one, 7 petals from the medium, the next size, and 5 petals from the next size. Now each of these go onto your firm foam former and vein and vein. And with your bowl tool, again, just smooth the edge and frill the top. Now with these, I want these to cup over the ball that I've just made, and so I tend to bring the bone tool and just drag it in, and you'll see the shape of them, like so. And this one just needs to just curve them around like so. Now I don't want these to dry too much because I want to put them around the ball that I've made, and they won't curve properly if they've dried too much. So as soon as you've got your first lot made, you would take them and use a little dust, and I just dust each one like so. And it's just a small impression of what I've done. Now you can see, here's some I've made earlier. So I've got 4, 7. Take your ball. Now I'm going to glue this. like so, using your edible glue. And you can see I'm working around and around, and it is just really to start the sugar to get sticky. Now each one of these has a little glue on it, like a V of glue, just down onto each petal. So just in case you can't really see what I'm doing, I just put it here. And now I start picking up. And what I want to do is cover the middle, really, of this ball. So each one just gets layered on top of the other. I'm not anxious really about underneath this just yet, on the bottom of this just yet. I am just anxious really about the top and how the top looks. So I've come around and I've got 5 in there. It's quite closed up. And number 6 I'll just bring in here. If I don't need 7, I won't put 7 on. So you have a look at it now to make sure that you've covered all the ball inside. And now you just keep working. So as you've put on the first layer, now I'm putting on the second layer. And I've prepared these, but not too early. So they're still a little on the soft side. So let's pop that aside and add our little glue on here. And these become, they get covered up, so don't panic too much. 4, 5, 6, 7. And around they go. Now you can see I use my fingers quite a lot to hold these into place and allow the sugar to do the work it's doing for you, and let it get sticky. If you let these dry off too much, they will. It's harder to put them into place. They will just keep falling down on you. So now that's number 6 and number 7. As you bring in number 7, bring it underneath number 1 and tuck it in. And that's 7. And again, I'm just making sure that everything starts to get sticky. And I'll pop it down on the side. And I'll bring in, I've just done 5 of this size, which is the second one in. And glue. And again, just overlap them. As you put them on, go behind and overlap it. Let the sugar stick to itself. But remember, you've dusted these as well. So sometimes your dust will hinder you and not allow the sugars to become sticky. So it's the heat of your hands that will help it to get sticky. Last one onto there and inside number 1. And again, I'm just going to hold onto this just for a second and allow the sugars to work underneath. It's a nice hot day here, so of course we've got the ice cream man on tap, we wish. And I'll pop that down. Now the last layer I'm going to do on this are the ones I prepared on the wires, ready dusted. Now I've done 9 of these, and for the same reason, I'm always saying, if you need 9, use them, but if you don't, it doesn't matter. I take the wire and just bend it very slightly back. Like so. Now always use a tweezers for this, because you can, again, you can knock the whole thing off the wire if you try and do it with your fingers. So use a tweezers, and back it goes. And you'll notice also I've only put dust on the inside of my petal. I haven't worried about the outside, because I can always go back to that once I've finished the flower. I have some tape here on the side, and we pick up. And this is where we say, oh no, I hope this all stays together for me. And pop this in. Now these just absolutely sit behind each other, and work around. But always only put one petal at a time in. Don't try and put 2 or 3 in. There's only 4. This is 5. Open that one, tuck it inside. It always makes your flower look neater if you tuck your petals and make them rotate like that. And we have 1. Now I don't want that to go directly behind there, so I'm just going to put it in between. And 2. And really I'm just filling until it gets to the size that I want it to be. I'm going to look at it. If I want these to be opened a tad more, because you haven't let them dry off too much, you can then alter and open as much as you possibly want. I'm going to use 1 more petal in here. Sit it in. And I think I don't need to use the last petal. If I need it, it's there to use. But if you don't, if you think your flower is as you wish, stop. And I'm going to tighten that up. Might need that last petal after all if I break what I've already done. And I'm taping all the way down. Now do be careful when you're doing these, because your petals are still wet, so be aware of that. But they're easier, definitely easier to put together if they are just a little on the wet side. I'm just going to rescue, putting a little glue into there and push. And that should hold on to that for me. I'm going to put this aside for half a second. Onto a piece of and I'm going to take some green paste. I'm going to make a little ball, and this is about I'd say 3-4 pea size, like so. Put it onto your former pad and use your ball tool for this. Touch it onto my dabber and open it up. So you have this kind of piece going on. Pop it down. Now I'm going to use the green. I'm just going to roll it when I use this leaf cutter, I don't want the whole width of the leaf. So I'm going to just do my dabber on here, keep everything moving. I'm going to make 1 whole leaf. And then I'm just going to cut it, and then I'm going to cut again on the side. So I have this kind of thing. You can even use this, so don't be thinking chuck it away. This one here, I'm just going to hold like so, and I'm going to cut that from here, just at a bit of an angle, a bit of a twist to it. So I have this kind of thing going on, so they're slightly different shapes. Break each piece, and I'm just going to break it because I want them to be just a tad smaller. With this, you'll choose which end you use. So now I've got these three. They go onto my former pad. Just soften the edges. Up one side and down the other. And soften. Now with a little glue, I'm just going to put this into here. And again, I'm going to use my tools to help me do this. Squash in. 2 and 3. So that's the first part. And put them away. And look for your, put a little glue on this. Now I'll put the glue where it's right around the top and into the middle. And then when I take my flower, pop it in, pull it to the side, twist in, and that's your calyx on the back of your peony. Now if you have a flower drying stand, I would let that dry like so for a little while, but you don't want these to stay laying like this. You want them to be falling back. So when they've started to dry off a little bit, turn them over, and then you will get this nice floppy finish to it. And the last thing you do is, if you wished, you'd put a little dust on the top, and that would be your peony finished. Leave it on the side to dry then.